So today, the challenges around remote access really stem from a lot of buzzwords that are out there. We talk about zero trust, we talk about SASE, uh, VPN 2.0, all these different things that are out there that are floating. And I think we have to start out with saying, what is the challenge we're actually having, and the problems with historically legacy VPN that existed. When we talked about VPN, it was really taking a network and extending it to the client, right, from that standpoint. And the issue with that was, unless you had good rules and good processes in place, that component that you were adding to your network could be a risk. And so when we take those buzzwords and we talk about SASE and zero trust, is different approaches to solving that problem, which is now instead we're going to do more granular access, we're going to do user-based access, we're going to tie it to identity. Those are all great things, but is that really the right answer? And we've had another technology that's existed for quite a while, which is VDI, in which we had virtual desktops and apps, where instead of us using VPN to provide access to something we had inside of our data centers, we were essentially streaming out that app service or that desktop that was inside and not extending the network to the client that was outside the network. Instead, we were bringing the user into the environment in an isolated, separate network. And there were benefits to that, right? Which was the whole idea that you could, any endpoint and user could connect into that virtual environment, assuming they passed whatever checks you had in place. But it became with a higher load. In this particular case, with VDI, we were extending out, removing the user to inside the environment instead of extending out like with VPN. And while that was excellent for what it did, it came at a particular cost. That meant you had to maintain more infrastructure inside of your data center to provide those services. And of course, just like everything else, there were improvements. We moved it to cloud hosting. We streamlined services and shrunk it down. So instead of streaming a whole desktop, it was individual apps. There were definitely improvements there, but we still had kind of the same problem that existed, which is, it's some sort of load capacity that we were having to maintain inside the data center. And now we have a different approach. And it's not necessarily new, but it's being revamped just like everything else, which is we're now deploying a managed browser. And what are the benefits and how does it compare to VPN or VPN 2.0 and VDI and virtual desktops and apps? It's really saying that within this browser that you're running on any endpoint and client that's there, everything is self-contained inside of it. So anything that's accessed inside that browser is encrypted to and from a communication standpoint. We are implementing controls to where even the compromises and risk of someone taking a screenshot on the local computer to exfil data out of there, that can go away because you can turn off screenshots inside of the managed browser. You can do all these interesting things that are contained inside of that app without necessarily providing one VPN access to the whole system. So it's very much a VPN alternative. And you can also tie it into streaming only the applications that you want inside of that may be hosted inside your data center. So in both cases, it's a little bit of the best of both worlds, but it does now require the user to install something on their endpoint. And that's always been kind of an interesting thing when we come to BYOD. Do users want to have something that's managed by an enterprise on, let's say, their personal system? So not saying that any one of those three is the best answer, but that's what we're looking at as when we talk about remote access, what is the right way? And looking at these options, it could help us identify what is the right answer for your environment.